Hello. We are just a few minutes early. We're 9 minutes from the start. So, welcome. I am excited that you are here for federal data diving. And so, because you are here early, you get the chance to drop bonus questions in the chat. I'm Judy Bratt. And so, tell us a little bit about yourself. And if you've got a specific question, drop it in the chat. We're going to do a formal launch at 9 minutes in 9 minutes from now at the top of the hour, and we're going to run for just 60 minutes. Anything we don't get to during the webinar, email me. I will follow up and answer your questions personally just as soon as I can. So by all means, log in and drop your questions in the chat. And we're going to get started in just now, 9 minutes at the top of the hour. Come on in.
Hey,
Hey there. How you
can
doing,
you
Heather?
make good? Can you make me a co-host
I
as well?
can absolutely. Hang on for just a second. It's one.
Thank
It is my favorite thing to do is making you the co-host.
you.
There we go. And welcome, welcome. Yes, I sure do because we know how to party here. No, seriously. And those of you who are here, welcome to our pre-show warm-up. Uh, I'm Judy Bratt. If we haven't met before, I'm Judy Bratt. If we have met before, and Heather Herbine, you'll be meeting more in just a few minutes. As we get started, Heather, should people be dropping questions, comments in the Q&A? Is that the right place to add information for all of us?
Absolutely.
Great. Elma, hello. Good to meet you. She lives in SA. And we have 5 military bases and can't get work from any of the contracting officers or specialists. Wow, that's a tough place to be, Elma. I hear ya. All right. Well, we'll see what else. San Antonio. Yes. Welcome. All right. Well, we hope to give you a little bit of insight, some ideas on how to move forward. Other folks just joining us, please use the chat with Q&A. Heather, I just lost track of what you said. Is Q&A really the place to drop questions?
You can go ahead. They can drop it in either spot.
Okay, great. As you are here, we are 7 minutes from the start. I love to be generous, reward my early birds. So if you're here, you've got a special question that you want to ask, make sure that we get to you. Hello, Nicola. Nicola Frisbee of Critical Components in Oklahoma City, woman-owned small business manufacturing. What kind of critical components do you manufacture, Nicola? That's really interesting. Tell us a little more. And we're really glad you're here. Other folks, if you want to drop a howdy, tell us a little bit about you, where you are, and if this is your first webinar with us, drop it in the chat. We love to get to know you. We're so glad you're here. And this, you're not supposed to have favorite children. This is my favorite webinar. I give a lot of webinars, and this really is the one that I love the best because there's just so much here. So we're going to get all of this rolling. What have I got here? Yeah, I got stuff. All the magical things. Hi, Steve. So glad you're here. Welcome, Steve Ortman from Alexandria, Virginia. You've been on a couple of our sessions before, and you're a veteran as well. So thank you for you and your company for your service. Nicola does aerospace components like landing gear. That's really interesting because I'm now working with at least 3 manufacturers who are in the aerospace industry. Some of them, they are favorite people. They're all some of my favorite clients. And I work with a lot of folks who do IT and professional services. Um, and so it's always exciting whether you're making products or delivering services to hear more about what you're doing. Emily, Trident Information Technology in Yardley, Pennsylvania, systems admin, software development, and specialized training for DoD. Congratulations on your pending HubZone certification. That is terrific. So glad you're here. Other folks, we are 5 minutes from the start. So drop a little howdy and what you do in the chat. And if you have a specific question that you have about federal data, whether it's something that's new to you or something you've been struggling with, you showed up early. So you get to have your questions in the queue right at the first. Hi, Demetrius. You're a logistics company that's won some medical supplies contracts for the VA, looking for tips on how to find IDIQs that'll be coming up for recompete in the near future. Hold that thought, Demetrius, because you offered a first idea for a kind of thing that I can do when I go through our demo. So thank you for that. And if other folks, we are 4 minutes from the start. We're going to get started right away. And so we'd love to have your thoughts and your comments and your questions in the chat. Elma says she's a flooring contractor working with general contractors. And so that can be really challenging. Whether you're looking for your first federal contract or your next one, we hope you're going to come away with some ideas and some insight that can help. Again, I'm Judy Bratt, CEO of Summit Insight. This is our pre show warm up on our seminar, our webinar on federal data diving. And we're so glad you're here. We're going to get started in 4 minutes at the top of the hour. Hello, Alethea. My friends from the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers are some of my best partners. And Alethea, thank you so much for buying a whole box of my books and workbooks to share with your clientele. We're going to be talking about the books and the workbooks along with resources at the end. And so it's wonderful to have you with us. Um, Hello, Ravi. Ravi's trying to do IT consulting and get their first federal contract. I love to share some ideas because there's really 4 steps that you'll find are going to get you on the faster track. I wish I could say there's a fast track to federal contracts. So Brian Amster from QualED, how do you say that? Qual LED Tech, looking to understand NAICS codes for certain technology and supply contracts. Wonderful. Hold that thought, Brian. Heather, if you would tag that question as well, because we're going to circle back and make sure we get to some of these when we get to our actual data demo portion of our program. We are 3 minutes from the start. Welcome to Federal Contract Data Diving. I'm Judy Bratt, and we're going to get started in just a few minutes. I'm so glad you're here. There's only a limited number of seats that we have on our session today. And so just so that you know, everybody who's here will get a copy of the recording, but we really hope that you've got lots of questions for us live. Qual ED, say it fast, is quality. That's really clever, Brian. And if you're listening to this, pay attention to the idea that you're able to talk about your company in a way that's memorable. Qual ED is certainly memorable once you know how to say it. So you're, Brian, going to leave some great voicemails for people because your company name is clever. And when you talk about your company with energy and enthusiasm, even when you're leaving a voicemail, people are more likely to return your call. Awesome. Whoever you said that said you're reading my book, I know your name is not Leah Edwards, but tell me who you are. Drop your name in the chat. And thank you so much for picking up a copy of the book and letting me know what's useful. I'm going to tell you a secret about writing a book. The second best part of writing a book is autographing books. The best part of writing a book is when somebody comes up to you months or years later and has their book in hand and there's got stickies and highlighting and it looks like it's been through the wars and someone says, this made a difference for me. That's the best part about writing a book. We're less than 1 minute from the start. I'm Judy Bratt from Summit Insight. Welcome to our webinar, Federal Contract Data Diving, How to Bring Home the Gold. We're going to get started just as soon as my clock ticks over to the top of the hour, and that's going to be in about 15 seconds. So welcome. We're really, really glad you're here. All right. In countdown from 10. Heather, you ready?
Want me to count it down?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
All
count
right,
it down.
let's do it. 10,
10, 9,
9,
8,
8,
7,
7,
6,
6, 5,
4,
4, 3,
3,
2,
2.
1. Take it away, Judy.
Top of the hour. Hi, I'm Judy Bratt. I'm the CEO of Summit Insight, and this is Federal Contract Data Diving, How to Bring Home the Gold. I'm here to bring you the best nuggets, the best gold I can from over 33 years as a subject matter expert in federal contracting. It is my pleasure to do this, and I'm going to share as much as I possibly can in the time that we have together. So, here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Summit Insight is a professional services company. A special welcome to you that I'm meeting for the first time. If you are here for the first time, please drop a 1 in the chat so we can offer you a special welcome. Summit Insight is a professional services firm, and for you and in the federal market and for us together, I hope that you agree with me that sales and marketing are acts of service. That's why I'm offering this GovCon series here, and it's why it's free. You can find out whether you're fit to work with us and explore a lot of free resources via links that we're going to be sharing in the chat throughout and again at the end. That's also why we're going to be asking you to give us a little bit of feedback at several points, including a couple of polls. Please participate actively. And I want to introduce Heather Herbine, co-founder of Transcendence Marketing and home of the Smarketing Masters, where they combine best practices and tested methodologies to create smarketing. This is also
Yes.
my team. So Heather focuses on your sales and your marketing goals from the start. And so they can be your one-stop shop for all things sales and marketing, from digital and social to cold calling. Heather, you call my people
I
and you
do.
do a great
You'll all
job
be
on
getting
it.
a phone call from me later. I apologize in advance.
Nothing to
But we got a
apologize
cold
for.
call too.
Sure. So, what's the key differentiator for smarketing, Heather?
We combine sales and marketing to really help clients see ROI on the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, if marketing isn't supporting sales in the way they need to be supported, then nobody's closing deals. So we combine all processes to really help drive revenue for organizations.
And smarketing has a real expertise in opening doors in the federal arena. Not everybody can smile and dial to reach your federal buyers. They
Yeah.
can. So, real quick, welcome and rules of engagement. Drop your questions in the chat. Heather's gonna, as my co-moderator, feed questions to me throughout, and we're going to answer as many questions as we can live. If there's anything I don't get to live, then if you drop them in the chat and they're unanswered, I will follow up with you one-on-one. All right. Everyone who is here will get a copy or a link to the recording. So relax, take some notes, participate actively, and we're going to have a variety of things, including resources, guides, links to upcoming events, all coming at you at the end. All right. So that's what you need to know for right now. So let's get started. Our mission today is to discover and explore the gold in the oceans of federal contract data. And our mascot for the day, our mermaid, is actually part of our story. And I'll tell you more about her and how I met her in just a few minutes. Here's what we're going to cover: things that you need to know, the struggle that most federal contractors have, the solution, why and when to use past federal contract data, what you can see. We're going to take apart the anatomy of a data record, and then where to focus. I'm going to do something I do very rarely. I'm going to show you what happens when you can do a full pull of federal contract data and demonstrate some of the things that you can see and some ways to think about organizing data that it's worth your time to get to try to understand. We'll close out with some resources and some next steps. While you're listening, here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to write down, what are you going to do next? Because at the end, I'm going to ask you, we're going to go around the room and say, what are you going to do? What do you commit to do and when as a result of being here? All right. So that's what we're about to do. And so let's get into it. You would think that in this day and age, with not just billions, but right now, trillions of dollars of federal spending, hundreds of thousands of contract opportunities, dozens of databases to tap opportunity feeds electronically, you'd think it would be easier than ever to win federal business, right? Maybe not so much. In fact, rather than having to wait for something to come in the mail, something called the Commerce Business Daily, published by the Department of Commerce, came out daily, published on tissue paper in 6-point type. And that was the only place you could find out about opportunities. Now, the great news is it's all online. The bad news is it's all online. And we're in the middle of something that I call opportunity illusion. And it could be affecting your company. Here's the symptom. If you've ever found yourself looking at your inbox, looking at these notices someone sends you and asking, what can I bid? That may be a symptom of opportunity illusion. It can be one of the most costly phenomena in the federal market today. The good news is there's a way out. I'm going to tell you what that is, and we're going to fix it. Anybody ever sit in front of one of these at the optometrist? They flip the lens. They go better A or B, flip, better A or B, flip, better A or I can see. You're going to have that experience in sorting through this bewildering array of federal opportunities when you stop asking, what can I bid? And start asking, who's my buyer? And how can I get to know them before the next requirements come out? Can you see how that would be valuable? Can you imagine what a difference that would make? If you can, drop yes in the chat. I want to see it. Drop yes. If you can see the difference that that would make when you stop looking at what can I bid and you start focusing ahead of time, ahead of those opportunities at who's my buyer, where are my yeses? What are my yeses? Yes, says Chris. Yes, says Edwin. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So that's the journey we're on right now. And you're going to learn how to do this because we're unpacking things. We're going to have a new rule. The big secret that government contractors discover, too many of us too late, is that federal contracting is a relationship game. Well, that's nice. If one more person tells you, do your homework, you might feel like you're getting ready to tear your hair out. Here's where homework really starts. Here's the deal. Tell me for a moment, drop it in the chat. I want to ask a question. When you think about it in business terms, what's a lead? Anybody? Just real quick definition. What's a lead? I'm going to count down for 10 seconds. Drop your answers in the chat, and I'm going to read out the best ones. Okay. 10, 9, 8. What's a lead? 7, 6. Someone who may have what you do, says Emily. Eileen says a contact. Yeah. Someone else, a potential buyer. Brian, an opportunity that has existed before and up for a new contact. You're onto it. You're warm. Yes. Someone that could be contacted. Yes. So bringing all of that together, here's a definition. Write it down. A lead is not that contract notice that lands in your inbox. A lead is a person whose visibility, activity, and roles point the way to potential opportunity. Now, here's a different way to think about it. All right, so get ready. We've got some more things to ask you, okay? Many leads build a story. Drop in the chat, what's the name of your favorite detective? Maybe it's Blue Bloods, maybe it's Columbo, maybe it's Sherlock Holmes. Whether it's in history or movies or television, what's your favorite detective show or detective? Who are you thinking? Who are your favorites? Jessica Jones, Nancy Drew. I like those. Well, name some of your favorite detectives? We have more Nancy Drew fans. I love it. A couple of detectives. Sherlock Holmes. We're going for the classics here. Let's see some more detectives. The closer. Yes, absolutely. Her name went in and out of my head for just a moment. Yet, isn't she sweet? Very clever. You really want to talk to her. And Veronica Mars. Yeah. Inspector Gadget. Oh, such fun. So, one way or another, you think about what happens when our detectives, whether they're in the squad room or the bar room or the bedroom, they're they talk about leads. They talk about who did you talk to? After they now say, somebody check all the camera footage, they say, who did you talk to? What leads do you have? They're talking about people. They're talking about who are the humans who are involved in knowing what's the story, what really happened here. And that is your number one job as a federal contractor, to track down the story of the spend, what happened. Because behind the story of the money, there are federal humans. It's our special phrase we talk about here at Summit Insight, federal humans. We are all human. By that, I mean humans in the federal arena. But your federal humans have stories for you, and each of them has a part of the story. Now, those of you who are involved in the intelligence community, spies talk about ELINT, HUMINT, SIGINT, signals intelligence, electronic intelligence, human intelligence. This is a very human story, but you're putting together information from a lot of places. And that is how we piece together the story. Because the cool thing about doing business in the federal arena. Unlike commercial, unlike much of state and local, and unlike any other country in the world, the US federal government publishes over 300 pieces of data, and it's available for free online right now about every transaction that's part of a contract expected to be worth more than $10,000, which is great if you know how to find it and what to do. And that is what we're going to show you today. So, so who feels like this about federal lead generation and sales? Drop the word me in the chat. Does this look like your immediate response when someone talks about sales and lead generation? I want to see everybody who feels that way. Mhm. There's a reason why this classic picture is called the scream. The funny thing is, so many of us misunderstand what sales actually means. So, help us help you. All right. Heather, would you talk about this for a minute and launch the poll? Tell us a little bit about this. Our sessions here are free, and we need your input to make this a great session. We're going to leave this open throughout. But if you're here, take a minute if you would answer these questions at some point before the end of our session. Tell us a little bit about how many people in your company are involved in sales and business development who might need a mind shift away from to oh boy. Um, tell us a little bit about your company's annual revenue. Tell us a little bit about the importance of federal business to your company, whether you'd ever think about outside federal sales training to make this stuff easier, and if you ever want to hear from me again. So that's what the poll is all about. And so please fill it out throughout the course of our session. Heather, is there anything else that people need to know about this?
No, just go ahead and if you could fill it out, I'll probably put some pokes and prods to get it completed before the end of the webinar. But other than that, it's launched and it looks
All
like
right.
14 of you have already filled it out. So thank you guys so much for doing that. We really appreciate it.
Please, thank you. We really do appreciate it. But this is the one thing we ask of you. All right. So, of all the people that need what you do, when you're starting with possible leads that look like this, it feels overwhelming and really horrible. But that's an absolutely normal feeling. There are literally millions of federal humans. And so, where do you begin? Where do you begin? We're going to talk about where and when and why to use past federal contract data, why it is so powerful and why it's so important. Past federal contract data can help you answer these questions. Where should we focus of all the places? Who buys what we do? How do they buy? That's the vehicles piece. How much do they buy? Who do they buy from now? At federal contract data can help you answer the question, what do we say to these people? What do we do? How do we get in touch with them? What can they ask us? How do we ask these things? Data gives you the starting point to answer all of these questions, which you really need in order to build relationships. One of my favorite clients, Neil Wilson, service disabled veteran aquifer engineer in Florida. And I met him back in 2009. And at that point, he was in real pain. Neil said, I have spent $65,000 and it was all my resources for the whole year. I've been to Florida and Georgia and Louisiana and everywhere they say we love service disabled veterans. We have to do business with vets. I've got the big goose egg. I got nothing. I said, all right, Neil, let's take a step back and really look at what's happening in your backyard. What business is close to you? You're a mile wide and an inch deep, and none of these people in these hundreds of business cards even knows you're alive. Let's make some decisions and focus and really get to know the people in your backyard. By using good data and focusing, within a matter of months, Neil not only got his first chance to bid, he lost, but when he went back and got the debriefing, he found out they really liked him, encouraged him to bid again, and he won his first federal contract. So focus gives you the shorter path to the win. And we're going to see how. In short, contract data generates contact data. Now, of these four parts of the cycle, you would think that you would start with the forecast. The thing activity would start with the forecast. The agencies say what they think they're going to spend. Then there's pre-solicitation activity and market research. Then there's the competition begins. Then there's an award, protest, finalization, contract performance, contract award data, right? That would seem to be the way that most people would look at this. Here's the thing. The federal market intelligence cycle starts when you follow the money. In other words, to go forward, look back. Federal buyers almost certainly purchased products or services like yours before. So if you want to know who's going to be buying what you do in future, look and see who's probably already buying from your competition right now. All right. So that's the shift that we're going to make. And easy to say, hard to do. Even after I work with clients, when we work together for 8 weeks, it's easy to fall back into the old pattern of, yeah, but tell me what I'm going to bid. If you do one thing, if you can come away with one major shift from this time together, I want you to stop asking, what can I bid? And start looking at who's our buyer. Who are our buyers? All right. So how helpful would it be? What would you do if you knew who buys what you do, how much they spend, who they bought from, how they describe the purchase, when the contract would be over? This gets to I think gets to Brian's question, or where will the work be done? If you could find out all of that, what would that let you do? Drop a note in the chat. What kind of thing, if you had all that at your fingertips, what kinds of things would that help you do? What would that save you? Why would that be helpful to you? Love to hear. Because when you've got that in your hands, you can focus on honestly where the money is. You can see who approved the contract. Do you need a GSA schedule? How much is awarded using simplified procedures, not these big giant proposals? And how much competition is there? Let's see what kind of a difference folks think that that would make. Chris says it would tell me who to prioritize reaching out to. Elma says it would save time and be more efficient, help us bid jobs. Someone else says I'd be confident enough to contact the contracting officer. Andre says it would save time and make your outreach more efficient. Yeah, these are all the things that you're able to do when you invest some time and resources to master federal contract data. When I'm not behind my desk, I'm a certified scuba diver. I love to go diving. And this is actually um, a real dock in the Cayman Islands, the last place I went diving. And there's a whole ocean of federal contract data out there. Let's get in the swim. We're going to unpack a story. There's a couple of different resources I'm going to look at. And in order to get the story of a single data record, the Federal Procurement Data System is the resource I'm going to go and take a look at for a moment here. So I'm going to pause and go over to the Federal Procurement Data System now and unpack that for you. So just a moment, and I'm going to go over to Federal Procurement Data System, fpds.gov. All right, so I'm going to stop the share. And Heather, can you see the Federal Procurement Data System? All right. So those of you who are wondering what this is so cool. Yes, it is. So I'm going to put this here, and all panelists and attendees, https fpds.gov. This is one of the things that makes me happy that I pay my taxes, because your taxes paid for this. So here, there are over 300 pieces of data underlying every one of these records, going back even further than 1988. That's over 33 years worth of data. And so you can search on any keyword. I picked a woman-owned business based in Pennsylvania that does personal protective equipment and industrial equipment, Arbil. And so when I do the search, and if I just search on Arbil, I might get things in any order. The first contract, the first contract that comes up is 2019. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right. There we go. Now that's the first one that comes up is 2019. There's all kinds of things here, but I want to see let's say the most, um, oh, you know what? Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to see what the most recent one is. So I'm going to click on date signed over on the right-hand side. So they won their most recent contract yesterday. So this is really hot information. All right. So let's see what is going on inside one record. So you can see a lot of different things here. I'm going to show you a couple of things. So this particular one was an award against a blanket purchase agreement. All right. So that's a blanket purchase agreement is like a bucket that is funded. You win it, it's set up once, but then the agency can add more money to it. But once it's been awarded, the blanket purchase agreement has been awarded, then they can award more work to your company without having to do any bigger competitions. Less proposals, less cost. Sweet. So look at this other one. The field that says IDV or indefinite delivery vehicle type, it says FSS. It's short for Federal Supply Service. That means that something has been happening related to the General Services Administration. Okay. Here if it's zero, this is probably an administrative action of some kind. They're setting up a contract or modifying the contract. All right. And so here it's happening against something that starts with GS. It's related to the General Services Administration 07F. It's an older GSA schedule contract. So something's happening related to that. All right. So we'll look at a couple of these things and we'll take a look at one of these and we're going to unpack the story of what is happening. I'm looking at one that there's a lot of activity on. Oh, this is fun. Now let's see here. So here they've done a blanket purchase agreement. They've set it up using the terms and conditions of the General Services Administration schedule contract, but they've created a blanket purchase. Environmental Protection Agency has created the blanket purchase agreement, and there's been 4 different actions happen so far against that contract. I'm looking for another one of these, and lots of administrative activity. Value is 0. Small purchase order. Let's see a lot of different things happening here. So I'm going to go back up to the very top and just take a look at this particular action. So if I hit view, we'll see what's going on. Now look at this. These are just a few of the fields of data. Not everything shows up here. All right. And so here, look at the very top. You have contact information. Amy.driver at hqheadquarters.dhs.gov. That is a lead. That's detective information. So Amy Driver both prepared this contract record and she was the last one to touch the record. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 different names attached to the contract. So is Amy the one who's going to be using whatever it was that got purchased? Probably not. But do you think she knows who made the buy and who defined the requirement? She knows other people involved in the story. So Amy is a lead. Now, let's see what else is here. This contract was turned around really quickly, prepared and modified. The record was touched yesterday. There's an award ID. This is a unique identifier of this specific transaction. Then there's something called a referenced IDV ID. An indefinite delivery. I'm going to make one of my 2 federal contracting jokes. An indefinite delivery vehicle is not the courier truck that cannot find your house. An indefinite delivery vehicle is like a fishing license or a hunting license. It's a type of contract that is set up and then multiple purchases can be made against that contract without additional full-blown competition. Okay. And so this particular referenced IDV has been set up through HS Homeland Security, through the headquarters office, HQ, in Washington, D.C. All right. And that's the transaction number. And it's one of multiple transactions, one of 7 transactions against that contract. The contract was modified to exercise an option, perhaps to extend or doing something else with it. Let's see what happened. The original contract was signed last February. Period of performance date. Let's see, period of performance started last February. And let's see. Yep. Oh, 2 months ago. And so the day it was signed, yes, the modification was signed yesterday. It runs through a whole year. It runs through 2/18/22. Now take a look and see what's happening here. On the side here, you can see that the current action obligation to exercise the option was just over $500,000. So far, 1.1, almost $1.2 million has been spent through this contract. But the total authority to spend, the total amount of money that can be spent and awarded to our bill on this particular contract is almost $4 million. Everybody see how that works? So you can start to unpack the story. Now, let's go down a little further. I'm going to go out a little. So you can see that this is where Arbill Industries is and where they're located. Sole proprietorship, woman-owned small business. It's for personal protective gear. And it was action is in the national interest of COVID-19. So that may be that this contract award was done under special emergency provisions for pandemic response. Sure enough, emergency acquisition. So there's special rules and extra flexibility that buyers have if the contract is done in response to an emergency. Let's go down. Now, it says here the place of performance is also Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19154. That looks like 19154. Is that yep, that's the same zip code as the manufacturer. So sometimes the place of performance will be listed as a place of manufacture. Other times, place of performance that's listed will be telling you where the service was performed or the goods were sent. But notice it could be either. So you can't always use place or performance to tell you where's the work being done. Now, product or service NAICS code. The contracting officer gets to choose what NAICS code and product service code they're going to assign to the thing that they're buying. They get to decide. They called whatever it was they were purchasing special purpose clothing. They assigned the NAICS code 315990, apparel and accessories and other apparel manufacturer. That's what they called it. But what did they actually buy? Go down to the bottom, my favorite field, description of requirements. Now, today, the contracting officer is limited to 250 characters, just a little bit more than a super tweet, to say anything they like in that box. But older contract awards can contain up to 3,000 characters of data here. Sometimes they have a story, people's names, a lot of detail about the problem they were solving, and that is all in this field. A lot of people don't know that this field exists. If you just go searching and researching based on NAICS codes, there's hundreds of NAICS codes. What if the one you pick isn't the one the contracting officer chose? Don't limit your searches to NAICS codes or product service codes. Description of requirements is like dragging a big net in the ocean. And then you look what you come back with, untangle the dolphins, let go of the turtles, but then sort out the fish you've got left. That's the value of doing a big search and then sorting out what you've got. Now, look at all the other data. Information on the extent to which it was competed. How was the work solicited? In this case, it says there's no set aside that was used. There was a type of source. It was sourced through a blanket purchase agreement. The particular indefinite delivery vehicle, there were 19 companies that competed to create that blanket purchase agreement, but there were 3 offers received for this particular transaction. That's what it says. So now that's a lot of information about just one transaction. Can you imagine having 30,000 or 50,000 lines of data? How would you ever get through that? At the point at which most people say, for the sake of all that is holy, would you please stop? We say, sure, hang on, just hold on to your hats because this stuff suddenly can get a whole lot easier. So I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. And so tell me a little about what you think. All right, what's coming up for you now that you think about this data and what you're learning? What do you think of that? What did you learn? What's that tell you? Yes, the training will be available to watch later. You're here, you're going to get the recording. Yeah. So as we go through our demo of that one contract, I want you to think about everything you could do if you could go and pull lots of data and sort out the patterns. What if I could tell you there's free open source intelligence available right now that you can tap based on an investment in building your knowledge to do that? The sam.gov is the place where you can go and not only get pre-formatted reports, but with an investment of a few hours, or, well, look, you're going to spend time and you're going to spend money. All you get to choose is the MISC. One more time. You're going to spend time and you're going to spend money. All you get to choose is the mix. All of us have to make that choice in our business. What are we going to get somebody else to do? What are we going to learn to do ourselves? And where's the mix? Who can help us learn how to do this? And so you're going diving into the data. You've got to know what you're looking for. Our friend the mermaid is on the shore in the Cayman Islands, but that's to tell divers what they're looking for when they go into the water. This is a sample of something that can help you, if you're a scuba diver, do a dive plan so that when you're going down into the water, you can actually and go into the water and dive down. You'll know that you're going down the reef and how far down you're going, and you're going to be able to go down and find the mermaid because that's where she is. Savvy divers have a dive plan, in short. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what it means to actually have a dive plan if you're diving for data. Because the mermaid's down there, but you're going to get real lost if you don't know where you're going. So sam.gov has complete free official data of contract actions. And so you're going to master, and I'll tell you where to do that afterward. When you have mastered the art of going in and getting ad hoc reports, you can export that information to Excel for a deeper analysis. And I'm going to do a filtering demo for you right now. So just a moment and I'll switch my share over. So just a second and let's do this thing. One moment. New share. Here we go. All right. Now, Heather, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're in Excel now. We've ever be in one of those cooking shows where they have this big overhead mirror and they're mixing things and suddenly everything comes out of the oven and suddenly it's all cooled and suddenly you have brownies in your hand. This is one of those shows, only we're doing it with data. I like the cooking shows. They're very good. So I have extracted a couple dozen fields. When I do a search based on keywords, remember I talked about using keywords and not NAICS codes, pulling a lot of data over the last maybe 2 years of what's happening in a niche. This is a sample of a report and one of the things that we do when we work with our clients. So we pulled some fields. So let's say I've got a contracting agency name is one of the fields. So I've lit up some of the fields I'm working with and hidden some of the others so it's easier to scroll. So when I've pulled the contracting agency name, I can focus on just, for example, let's say I want to focus on just the Air Force. So I can do that. Just Air Force. Now, then I've got principal place of performance. Now, remember, place of performance, sometimes it's actually the contracting officer chooses a vendor data, but other times this is going to tell me where something's being shipped or where people are. So I can then filter and look for where are the buyers close to me in my backyard or in cities that are in places where I already have clients. So I'm concentrating on building relationships in my neighborhood. So that's another valuable piece of data that can save me time when I'm trying to figure out I can only be in so many places at once. So why don't I work close to home or within a couple hundred miles of where I am? Now, remember that field that had the name of the person who created the data record? And we talked about that person being a lead. Now, look at this. Approved by, modified by, prepared by. I set up my spreadsheet and I've put on filters on this line. So now I can click the down arrow. You have to take a look. but you can see the patterns of email addresses, first name, last name. So aaron.thomas.30.fa5685 at us.af.mil. If I actually emailed that email address, it would probably bounce because there are characters in there that aren't going to be in that person's real email address, but you're getting really close. If you stripped out, for example, the .30.fa blah blah blah, odds are good you'd get Aaron. Am I going to spam Aaron? No, I'm not. But it's a clue that Aaron Thomas is one of the people who may represent a lead for me there. In some cases, you've got AMFC underscore Robbins one or Tinker. So hard to see who the people are. In other cases, you've got Alyssa.Nevis at FA 5215. FA is probably Air Force. You can't use that one, but you know that if you have clear first name dot last name, awesome. In other cases, for example, in Health and Human Services, the pattern for health. And now I filtered out Health and Human Services, and I just have our friends at the Air Force because I chose Air Force way back. Different departments and agencies have different patterns for their email addresses. So I'm going to put all of the email addresses back in. I'm going to say, show me all now of our departments and agencies. I want to see everybody. So I'm going to clear the filter. There we go. Back over then to created by, approved by, modified by. Look at the different patterns. So I've got some folks at GSA 01.robert.budlong.gsa.gov. I don't have an at, and I've got some numbers, but you have some sense that at GSA, it's usually first name dot last name at gsa.gov. So you're doing a little detective work, but actually, one of the clues to a really good author of a detective story, it lets you kind of feel smart because you're figuring it out before the characters. That's a really well written story. And so here, if I go down to HHS, this is cool. Here, HHS S Patel 2. Well, so here, the nomenclature for points of contact, it starts with HHS, then you have a first name, then you have a last name. But the cool thing is with Health and Human Services, you might go, oh, well, that's more work. Health and Human Services has one of the best employee directories of any federal agency. I can take that, go over to the employee directory, and I know I can find out a lot more about them. I'm going to pause. Everybody get how the people who are here are in the contracting layer. In a few minutes, I'm going to talk about players and layers. Contracting is not the only layer where you need to have friends and know people, but that person they might be an intern. They might be, their odds are good. They're a contracting specialist. They may be the contracting officer. Approved by probably that may be the person who has the warranted authority or the warrant for the contract. Modified by, prepared by, that those might be more junior people, or that could be the contracting officer. So if you get how this is helpful, if you can see how it starts to unpack the story, type the words get it in the chat. I want to see who's getting this now. And I'm going to show you a couple of other fields. All right. One of the questions that somebody else had asked are, hey, how can we see which contracts that are being done on IDVs or IDIQs are coming up for recompete? Here you go. In this particular report, column L, estimated completion date. Take a look. Look at that. So if I unselect and say, I just want to see the things that their completion dates, they're going to be complete sometime in 2022 or beyond. Don't show me the things that are already passed, but show me the later ones. You can just filter those out. So you can pick things that have more than 18 months of lead time, and then take a look in your target agencies, who are the people involved. Now, remember we talked about individual contract action IDs. That's the procurement individual identifier. Then referenced IDV PIID. This is the number of the contract vehicle. If it starts with a GS, or in some cases a 47Q, those are your GSA schedules or other contract vehicles that are run or are managed by the General Services Administration. Some of them, if you go down, this particular data pull doesn't have a lot on IT, but there's ones that have the terms OAD in after the 47Q. Those are OASIS, for example. Once you get to know the data, It gets a little more familiar, but this will tell you whether or not something was purchased using a contract vehicle or not. They aren't always. Now, NAICS codes and product service codes, your contracting officer gets to pick what those are. So once you do a search on keywords or on looking at all of your competitors' records, you can see what are the NAICS codes and product service codes that buyers are using to describe what it is that they are purchasing. You want to make sure that you've got a good, robust selection of product service codes and NAICS codes on your records as well, so that when somebody's looking for sources, they find you as well as your competitors. Now, remember I talked about description of requirements, that free form field that has lots and lots of words in it? When you pull that in your report, look at what you can do. You can pull all of that down there. Then you can filter here for the keywords that you want, whatever you think that those might be. Okay, so you can filter and find the specific words that you want to. So I had gone and searched on a word, I think rack, for example. Yep. And so here I got words that barracks, for example, but I got other things as well. So then I've got all the contracts that have the word rack in them in this particular search. I'm going to take the filter off. Now, there's other things that I can find out about. Tell me all the things about the vendors. I want to know about where they're located and their set asides, and then tell me about the money. So this is a sample. Some of the highlights. Those of you who love spreadsheets, then you can then create pivot tables. When you create a pivot table, for example, I won't go through the process of doing that partly because I don't do it all that often. I would use up a lot of time. Excel pulls up for you where are the departments and agencies that are spending the most money on what I do. In this example, that was almost half, 53% spent by the Army. And I can ferret out because I've set out the levels, not just the department, but then also the agency within that department. I can highlight the first, second, and third levels of spend within my top spending agencies. I can pull out the top NAICS codes. What are the top 10 NAICS codes that are buyers are using to describe what I do? I want to make sure that these ones are on my record. What are the top product service codes? I want to make sure that if a lot of money is being spent through those product service codes, then I've got those on my record as well if I also do those things in my code. What kind of competition is there? I can take a look and see how much competition there is for the things that I do. How much is going through simplified acquisition? In this example, a fair bit, but there's a whole lot here that's being done on full and open competition. So lots and lots of opportunities open for the vendor I did this search for example. You can see whether or not something was tagged as competed on SAM. You can tell how much work was competed doing different kinds of acquisition procedures. You can filter for, hey, who's awarding work through set asides? So all of these things you can pull out through pivot tables. I'm going to pause here. And so hope that if you can see the value of answering these questions through extracting data, type the word me in the chat. All right. If you're getting the value of having this information available, type the word me in the chat. Oh yeah, you're getting it. Imagine being able to do this. You're going to invest a little time and money, but suddenly you don't need somebody else's big fancy database to do this for you. That might save you time if you have already paid money for a big fancy database. You're now going to be able to get more out of it. So I've done a little bit of a filtering and pivot table demo. There are 4 secret keys to unlocking federal contract data treasure. Here they are. First, start with keywords. Searching on NAICS codes alone misses stuff. The description of requirements code is where the gold is. Okay. And so you might have to relax, play around, give yourself a half a day to go in. You can't break sam.gov. You can just go get more data and try again. It'll be messy. It'll take time to learn. You have to play a little and relax and learn it and start to have the stories come out and talk to you. Look at your competitors' contract records. Most of you can probably drop in the chat the name of two competitors. Can you drop into the chat the name of two competitors that you know are busy eating your lunch? People that, if you could see who their buyers were, that would probably suggest a trail to buyers you should be talking to yourself, right? So when you look at your contractor, your competitors' contract records, you can see what NAICS codes buyers are using to describe or categorize what they're purchasing. You can see the keywords they're using in description of requirements. That helps you answer the question, do I know their language? Can I talk to them in the words that they use to describe what we do? Can we see who their customers are? You can see where your competitors are and you can see where they're not as well. And you can see what contract vehicles do your competitors have? What contract vehicles, if any, are buyers using? What's their easy button to purchase what it is that you do? So, first step, start with creating your data set based on keywords. Second, go look at your competitors. Help round out the picture. How you define your market might not be the way that your buyers do. Third, uncover your buyer's story. Who are your created by, approved by, modified by? Who are your individual federal humans? Who are the agencies who buy lots of what you do? So you're spending time with people with money. Find out how they buy. So particularly if you're uncomfortable about the idea, do I need a GSA schedule? Should I have a GSA schedule? When you have your data, this is going to tell you confidently whether or not you need one. If you're struggling with your GSA schedule and having trouble generating sales, it may be that when you've got this data, you can see that the people you're in front of all the time, although they talk about GSA schedules, they don't actually use it to buy what you do. That can save you thousands of dollars and months of time. My company does not prepare GSA schedule contract proposals. It's not because I don't believe they're important. I'm not any good at it. I've partners who do it well, but if anybody is leaning on you to say you need a GSA schedule and they haven't asked you, have you seen the data? Or they haven't shown you the data to show that, yes, the agencies you're pursuing use that vehicle, then take a step back. You can see how many offers buyers are typically getting when they're purchasing what you do. The lower the number of offers, the more you can tell that you're in a niche where relationships are really driving the sell. What acquisition methods are they using? Are they using simplified acquisition? Are they using set aside? Are they using GSA schedules? Full and open after exclusion of sources. You understand what those things mean. To what extent are they using set asides or sole source or not? Uncover the players at each layer. This is something we do that is unique to Summit Insight called the players and layers methodology. If you take away nothing else, write this down. There are players at 5 layers, and you need to know who they are. In every office where you're trying to find business, here they are. First, the contracting layer. That includes contracting officer, contracting specialist. Small business specialist, they're almost not your buyer, but the smarter you are and the more you prep, the more they can help you navigate and open doors. End user layer, those are the folks who have all kinds of the juicy job titles that mean they're the people who are working every day with you, alongside you, or stuck with the consequences of whoever the contracting officer chooses. The stakeholder could be the CIO, the base commander, the agency head. They set the policy, the priorities, but they're not involved in choosing you. And you don't actually ever want to ask them to introduce you to who's buying your stuff. They're visionary like you, high level. And industry, your competitors, the prime who's already in there, the other folks who are competing alongside you. You've got to know who all 5 layers are every place. This one slide is the one that just leaves people with their eyes bugged out, whether they've been in the federal market a long time or just getting started. Think through your contacts that way and make sure that you're able to fill in the gaps. Contract data is a great place to start. So here's a quick snapshot of key fields and how to use them. You can come back and take a look at that, but I've grouped them together a little bit. The first one is who's buying, the first block of check marks. The second block is how are they buying? And the block on the right is who are they buying from? And the set of check marks on the bottom is how much are they buying? So those are the key kinds of fields to look at. The workflow that professional analysts use can be something as simple as this. Create your ad hoc report tool. That's like your like weaving your net that you can go in and grab reports anytime you like. Then develop your set of keywords that characterize the words that buyers use to describe what you do. Then build and test your data set. This is where you go in and play, get messy for a little bit until you're getting really solid data. Export the data to the spreadsheet, then set up your filters and your pivot tables. So that's a little bit of a workflow that you can use. Analyze your niche then by agency, by buyer, by vehicle, ferret out the top primes, look at it by region, then also make sure you got the NAICS and the PSCs. I use about 58 of the 300 plus data elements. So I have 4 fields that are telling me what department or agency bought. I have 3 fields that tell me a little bit about where the work was done or sent, 3 different fields about who approved the buy, when did they buy, 10 fields about how did they buy, 5 about what did they buy, 28 fields of data I use when I want to say who did they buy from, then 3 fields about how much did they spend. So when you build your report, when you set up your own ad hoc report, I encourage you to figure out a storyboard that takes you through who's buying, how do they buy, how much did they buy, who did they buy from, what was the spend. All right, that's going to let you illuminate, bring to light what really happened. Your pivot tables that can then break out in really quick, easy graphs. Who are the top agencies? Where's the spend going to be? I can see how many orders are on GSA schedule. In this case of this example, most of the orders were not on a GSA schedule. This vendor didn't need one to be successful. You can break out not only who's buying, but who are the lead buyers in each agency and what vehicles and what vendors. You can see it that quickly in a matter of minutes when you break out a pivot table. You can answer questions fast. Do I need a GSA schedule? A GSA schedule may take you 18 months or more of effort. It may take you anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 if you hire someone to do it for you, or that much in cash and sweat equity on your own. Investing a little to find out if you need one is really a good use of your time. There's detailed training that you can tap to figure out how to do this. On sam.gov, there are free instructional videos. Go and get them. All right, this is one source of training. It is free. You're going to invest more time, but no money to do it. Another source of getting training on how to build your ad hoc report is your Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Their training is either free or it may, if there's a charge, it's going to be very low cost. You're going to spend time and it might not be available for you right away. You may have a counselor in your region or area that's really good at it, loves to do it. Almost nobody asks them. They can hardly wait to spend a half a day with you. Ask. All right. Another option, one of the partners I work with and I record training for is a company called Govology. Govology, if you're a Procurement Technical Assistance Center client, a PTAC client, a lot of them offer free access to the Govology courses, or this particular course by my friend Josh Frank is $75. He goes through how to build your ad hoc report. He's a great trainer. He's one of my favorites in the market. If you'd like me to do that with you, get in touch. Let's have a conversation. I may be able to help you if you want to learn how to do it yourself. The other option is you can get it done for you, which we do for all of our clients who do the federal business intensive, which is our 8-week program, about which more in a moment. So the path to success, federal procurement data, past federal contract data to go forward, look back. Using that data will pave your path to success. It'll help you choose your target agency, where to concentrate, help you pinpoint who you know and who you need to know. And it'll give you a lot of ideas for what to do, what to say, what to ask, how to get to know your competitors and differentiate before the competition. So we've covered a lot. We talked about the struggle with opportunity illusion, the solution. Stop asking, What can I bid? Start asking who's my buyer? How can I get to know them before the next requirement comes out? You learned all about why and when to use past federal contract data. We took apart an individual data record. We took a look at where to focus on key fields, and I shared how to organize and find your contact data. So let's take a look at some more resources and tell me this, did we achieve our mission today? How to discover gold in federal contract data? If we did, put yes in the chat. Tell me how we did. Did we achieve our mission today? In the meantime, what one action, what one thing do you commit to trying today because you were here? I'd love to know. Did we make a difference for you? What are you going to do next? Let us know. Drop it in the chat and help us help you. All right. Heather, would you repost the poll? Because we would love to know this. We've given you all of this for free. Help us help you get a sense of how we're a fit for you.
I'm afraid I can't relaunch the poll. We'll use
Oh,
the information that
okay.
we've already gathered. So if you could just
Okay.
please
We've
fill
done it.
out the poll, that would be fantastic. Thank
That'd be
you.
great. So it's still visible on the screen, correct?
Should be,
Great.
yes. We're getting
Okay,
the
great.
responses.
Super duper. Please, if you're going, this is great. How can we thank you? Click the button. Okay. Fill out the poll. Tell us a little bit about you and what's going on for you. In the meantime, we have resources. First of all, as an attendee bonus, so watch the chat. Heather's going to start dropping some resources in the chat for you to point and click. All right. First of all, you are here. You get a complimentary ebook, 3 easy lessons in free federal market research. It's an illustrated guide. It goes through some of these steps and what to do. It is my gift to you. And so it's a step-by-step illustrated guide. And that link is now in the chat for you. You're also going to get these links in our follow-up email. Isn't that right, Heather? We'll have the whole list of these. Yeah. Now, one of the things we talk about is the importance of getting in front of your federal humans, having actual conversations. For larger companies, we have a complimentary program we do on the second Wednesday of the month. It's called Come Together. Former federal contracting officers join me, and we do a real situation role play. So you can, if you're an experienced company, you can watch others. You can also put up a hand and say, I have a situation. Give us 30 seconds. We do a 5-minute improvisational role play, and then you get a debriefing from me and our Top Gun coaches. It is a powerful session. It's not for everybody, but if your company has more than 5 million in revenue, you've been in business for more than 5 years, and you're getting close to, or you've got at least 5 people in your company involved in federal sales and business development, you're going to know what to do with this session. You're going to get a debriefing and great ideas for how to navigate conversations with your federal humans on specific sticky situations, stuff you're not sure about what to do and say. It's a special service that we offer to folks who are ready. The Federal Business Intensive is the program I offer. It is a private program. It's not a course. It's not a class. It's not a database. It is 8 weeks of hard work for experienced companies, whether you have done federal or not. Company that you know what you do, you've got revenue and experience and past performance, 8 weeks of hard work so that in 8 weeks or less, you've created a solid relationship pipeline into at least 3 places that you are confident you can win more than 10 times your investment in the program back within 12 months. Find out more about that. Here's the link. It is a program that is so powerful. Now, this doesn't happen for everyone, but someone who did this program with me, woman-owned company in New York, they had never won a federal contract before. They finished this program in October. I just got notice on Friday they won their first contract with the United States Marine Corps for $54 million. I wish I could say that happens every week, but I will tell you the companies who do the work are successful. Coming up next month, we have another one of my favorite sessions, and that is our GSA Schedule Rescue Camp. My friend and colleague, Courtney Fairchild, one of the top experts in the country, will be joining us. We're going to have answers to common questions and other resources to help you stay out of trouble or get out of trouble and make sure that you are able to get the return on your investment in your GSA schedule. So once more, link is in the chat. You can go and get it there. And your next win, let's find out if we are a fit to work together. You can book a conversation and you can request a conversation if you're a fit. We can chat together and you'll come away with at least 3 ideas for something you can do. And I'm only going to do this program with about another 14 companies this year. That's it. This is the exclusive focus of what we do. But if we are fit, let's get you on the schedule because there's only so many slots available for 2021. That's it. So I'm going to pause. If you've got more Q&A, we can do it. But Heather, anything else that people need to know?
No, we should have a copy of the recording as well as all of the links and slides over to everybody at some point tomorrow. I would say late morning, but expect those to be coming through at some point tomorrow so you guys can all have the resources on hand.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, my promise to you is to finish in time on an hour. I feel like I've practiced all year just to get to the point where I could get a good balance of ideas and demo. And so at this point, if you have a few more minutes and there's a couple more things you want to know, or there's a question that is unanswered, first of all, if you've got to go and your question is not answered, please drop your question in the chat. All right. If you have other questions and you would like to ask them, then Heather, let me know what other questions we have on deck. Otherwise, love your comments and questions here, and let's chat again. So someone want to know, how do I find simplified acquisition projects? And I can answer that one. Right, Heather, what else have we got?
They're coming over to you in direct message from the chat.
Great. Let's do this. So I'm going to go over. Can you see my screen with the spreadsheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here, how can I find who uses simplified acquisition? All right. So here, I'm going to see if I can unfilter everything. All right. So how do I unhide all the stuff? Let's go. Hang on a second. Control home. Unhide. And I'm going to go over here. JKMN. Yeah. Unhide. Poof, there we go. All right. So we have solicitation procedures other than full and open. Solicitation procedures. I'm going to take a look here. And there we go. Solicitation procedures, the way I've laid this report, the way I do mine, it's column R. Yours may be different. If it was done using simplified acquisition, I can hit simplified acquisition. Suddenly, I've just got all the awards that were made under simplified acquisition procedures. There's another field as well, and that is under other than full and open competition. This will also tell me whether or not something was awarded as simplified acquisition non-competition. There's two different procedures there as well. There's two different lines that, other than full and open, this is also Govy speak for sole source. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at some other questions and see what else we've got here. And Heather, if I'm not seeing it, what else am I seeing that that I need?
So you should have the question sent over in direct chat. Brian Amster with Quality was looking to understand how to identify Nexus codes for certain tech supply and service contracts.
So how to identify NAICS codes? If you do a search based on your keywords, or let's say, and for sure with you, Brian, if you know some names of some leading competitors, you can go do a data pull on them and then see which NAICS codes your buyers are using when they're purchasing from your competitors. That would be two different approaches to go and find some examples. Okay. Hope that helps a little. Someone else is looking for ground service equipment for airports, acquisitions, maintenance, data, and database. Absolutely. You're going to a couple of things. Again, the best ideas include to find some names of competitors and look at the records of your competitors and start to compile keywords, NAICS, and product service codes from there. The alternative is play. Drop in some NAICS codes, so drop in some keywords and see what comes up for NAICS codes. You can also pull all of the records from, let's say it's a particular buyer, and then start to sort out what are all the different things they're purchasing and start to eliminate things that aren't what you're interested in. Like I said about dragging the big net and then untangling the turtles and letting go the dolphins and keeping the fish. Okay. Other questions? Heather, what else can I answer here?
Elma Demery has some questions in
In San
regards.
Antonio? Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
What's the best way for her to find her competitors?
Best way to find competitors would, in your situation, if it may be, let's say you're going to find one or two offices. I know you said you're in San Antonio, for example. Um, and so you can go and search on contract awards in Texas, or you can pick two or three. You can pick a couple of Air Force bases or offices, and then start to sort through who won the work, and then start to filter out people who clearly are buying things or selling things that aren't what you do, and what remains. You can do it by remainder. That'll be one technique. Um, Elma, you may also want to work with your procurement technical assistant center to sort this out. I know that some folks are having difficulty working with their primes and collecting money, and I wish I could help you with that. Your procurement technical assistance center may be able to maybe have local resources and consultants for you who are familiar with the buyers in your neighborhood, or can offer some other advice for you. So looking at new message, thanks for forwarding these to me, Heather. Any other questions? Anybody else got any questions, stuff we didn't answer? Anything else you would like to know? Any final thoughts you'd like to share? I hope you had as much fun as we did. This is my favorite webinar I do all year. If you're catching this recording later, please get in touch with us. Let us know how we can help. Share the link with others. This is really important, powerful information, and we would very much love for you to be able to share it with other folks. So, Edwin, thank you very, very much. We're really glad that you were here. And Arena, so glad you were with us. Yes, absolutely. Talk to your leadership and see whether or not we're a fit for you. And thank you also very much for sharing that most precious thing, your time. And Heather, great job. Thank you for making this so easy. And we will see you all really soon, including on GSA schedule rescue camp next month with Courtney Fairchild. Thanks a lot. I'll
Right.
see you later.